What's up, everybody? Welcome to another current events podcast with Jacob Murphy and
Connor Tyndall.
I don't know why he's whispering.
Second block, CVHS scribe.
Anyway, so today we're going to be covering several topics between sports and current events, and of course we're going to start off with our usual Florida Man segment.
It's going to be a weekly,
So-
or at least a bi-weekly
So
thing for
last
us.
time we talked about the man who committed, was it
Grand Theft Fire
Grand Theft
Extinguisher.
Fire
It
Extinguisher?
has its own law.
After he
apparently.
tried to steal a plane and instead stole a fire extinguisher. But today we're going to be talking about a Florida man killed himself on accident after trying to get a pigeon off a power line with an aluminum pool, like net pole thing.
Yeah.
So deputies in Palm Beach County found a man called Elian Garcia Rivera at 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon in his apartment in Palm Beach after he tried to get a pigeon. He has a pigeon coop. You know, some people in big cities like in New York and stuff have like pigeon coops and they care for the pigeons. Well, apparently the pigeon he was caring for got loose and he tried to get it off of a power line. And he tried to do so with a metal pole. Remember, he was sitting on a power line.
Very smart individual.
So he completely whiffed the pigeon. And when he did hit the pigeon,
That's one way to put it.
when he did hit the pigeon, he hit the power line, and it shot him backwards. And police found him, in between his pigeon coop and a fence. He was rushed to the hospital where he would then pass away. So that's our Florida Man segment. You know, we love Florida Man. It's fun. Florida Man's interesting. So any sense started do the Florida Man challenge. Go online, just Google Florida Man and then your birthday, and I'm curious to see what happens.
I don't really have much else to say on that because it's just stupid.
There's not much else going on. Also, you know, the news can be hard to watch between the governments
Between the sad
and
governments.
and this, you know, the sadness and all the, you know, the
Okay.
bad things in the world. So we're gonna talk about
Now
something.
to some real news.
We're gonna talk about something kind of funny before we get into the real news. A man in an airport in Russia stripped naked and tried to board his plane nude because it makes him more aerodynamic. I said with air quotes, realizing that you guys can't see me.
Footage of a man, 38, whose identity has not been revealed, shows him standing naked as he nonchalantly waits his turn aboard the Ural Airlines flight at Russia's airport in Moscow. I don't know how to say that.
Domodedovo. That sounds like a
The nude
that sounds
intruder
like a
was
Mortal
then
Kombat character.
the nude intruder was then caught by Air Force staff as he ran onto the jet bridge and was detained by the police. One passenger was quoted by Ren TV saying, "He shouted that he was naked because clothing impairs the aerodynamics of the body. He flies with more agility when undressed," because that makes sense.
So, there's not much to say on that.
I mean, I'm not an aerospace engineer,
Yeah, but
but I'm pretty sure
yeah.
that's not how that works.
Yeah, that's not nowhere near how it works, since he'd be, you know, inside the plane and not flying himself like Superman. So, yeah. So, I mean,
Right.
that's not how aerodynamics work. So, please, people, do not electrocute yourself with a pool rod on a metal pole on a fishing wire.
On a power line.
On a power line. And also, don't try to board your flights naked.
All right, next story.
Okay, now we're actually going to go over some actual, you know, real news that people actually care about.
You hear about Conor McGregor retiring?
Conor wants to start off with Conor McGregor announced he's retiring from MMA. He announced last night, I believe, March 25th.
Yeah, after his 6-month suspension after the whole after fight incident thing with what was it, Khabib?
Khabib, yeah, after he got arrested for assault after throwing a chair at Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, so he's got a 6-month suspension, and then he was supposed to come back in, I think, July and start fighting again. But he announced on Twitter, I'm pretty sure yesterday, so the 25th, as of recording this, that he was quitting UFC and he was retiring from MMA.
Well,
so
he was originally claiming that he wanted a rematch with Khabib, but then he dropped this absolute bombshell that he's retiring from UFC, and Rob Gronkowski retired from the NFL after 9 stellar seasons and 4 Super Bowl rings. So that's another athlete who has retired from another, world-class athlete who's retiring.
His last fight was October of 2018,
Yeah,
so
that's
that
the
was
Khabib
actually
fight,
a good bit ago. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Says he's worth $99 million after retiring.
Oh yeah, he's
So,
worth. UFC
he's got
fighters make a lot of money, win or lose.
But yeah, he's one of my favorite UFC guys. I mean, we have the same name, and we're both Irish. We both did MMA and that sort of thing. So I don't want to see him go, but I mean, he's like almost a billionaire. So I understand why.
Another huge thing coming out of, and this is in terms of technology news. Apple had one of their usual technology announcements they do for iPhones. Guy stands on a stage. They project something with the features behind them. They show
the exact same thing that they showed the year before.
Apple Pencil,
with very minimal
iPhone,
very minimal to no changes whatsoever.
So,
and then they say that it's a new phone.
So,
and jack up the price by another $100 or $200.
Apple CEO Tim Cook, who was the president, called him Tim Apple, which is not his name. His name is Tim Cook. So I'm sorry, I wanted to throw that in there because I find that footage hilarious.
Really
he was doing something about like how to improve cell service in America, and he was like, "I'm joined here by Tim Apple," and so he just his name is Tim Cook, the CEO of.
He should
Apple.
Get his name legally changed to Tim Apple now.
Yeah, so Tim Cook and big name celebrities like Steven Spielberg and Oprah came out yesterday to announce Apple's new technologies. Apple is now making a video streaming service, like Netflix, like Hulu, like this.
Everybody's making a video.
Disney Plus
service.
coming
Instagram
out.
is making a video streaming service. It's called Instagram TV. Remember that?
Yeah, this is now called Apple TV Plus. You have to pay for it. It's ad free. Video portal. It's making original movies and TV shows. It's gonna launch this fall. It's gonna launch this fall, right around the same time that Disney's coming out with that Disney Plus thing that they're making all the Marvel TV shows for.
I don't know about you, but we canceled Netflix.
You did?
Yeah.
Why?
Just because all of the originals, like they started off good, but I don't know if it's like the same writing staff for each like original series, original movie, but they've just been boring.
I started watching a show yesterday called The Order, which looks fun. But come on, now you're not gonna be able to watch Stranger Things or anything.
Yeah, the only thing I was sad about is, like the Marvel exclusives. If those did end up
they've canceled
being
all
good
those.
again, they did. Okay.
Yeah, they canceled the Punisher after this season. So.
But yeah, all of the Marvel like movies and just that sort of stuff,
I mean, they've got some pretty big name people out for this stuff.
But my dad did get HBO now, so I might start. I guess I might start using that. I don't really watch TV as is, but I do have YouTube Premium, and the originals on YouTube Premium are significantly better than the Netflix originals. So I'm not really too bent up about it.
Apple's announced 3 shows they're making for this. A docu-series featuring Oprah. It doesn't say what it's about. A show called See, like SEE, It's about a world where everyone is blind after the apocalypse. That has Jason Momoa in it, best known for Aquaman and Game of Thrones. There's also gonna be a show called The Morning Show with Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston, and Steve Carell. I mean, they have other big names working on projects: J.J. Abrams, M. Night Shyamalan, Steven Spielberg. So this is Apple's first, trying to get into movies and TV.
I don't think it's gonna work out.
I don't think it will either, because with all Apple products, it's probably gonna be way too expensive for the product they're putting out.
I just hope that the originals on this are at least better than the Netflix originals, because those have really been downhill. I barely made it through Iron Fist. I barely made it through Luke Cage. I didn't even attempt the last season of Daredevil, and I couldn't make it through Punisher.
Punisher's good.
Yeah.
So
R.I.P.
They also announced additions they're making to their Apple TV app. That app you can have, so you can go on all the
Apple product, so I can't really comment on this.
Well, there's an app you can download on, if you have an internet TV, you go on there and it's like, oh, okay, and you can go to other streaming services through the Apple app, like Stars and Showtime and HBO and all of that stuff.
A Fire TV thing.
Yeah, kind of like Amazon Fire Stick.
Because I do have one of those.
Yeah, so you get that app through Fire Stick. It's also overhauling their news app, recalling it Apple News Plus. I don't know why they have to include everything with a plus.
First month free. Usually when it has a plus, that means you got to pay for it. Mm-hmm. How much is this Apple News Plus?
The app is adding more than 300 magazine subscriptions for a monthly subscription price of $9.99 a month.
$10 a month, I can read the news.
Yes, exactly.
Or I could just read the news for free.
They're also releasing a credit card. Apple Card.
The Apple Card.
They is partnering with Goldman Sachs to make its own credit card.
It would have sounded better if they called it the iCard or something. That would have been way better.
Oh, way better. No plus Apple Card will be available on all iOS devices in your, you can have, what is it called? Apple Pay or Apple Wallet or whatever it's called. Yeah, so it has a normal credit card, reward systems, all that stuff. I have no idea why they're making a credit card. Apple's gotten weird. Offer a new ad-free subscription
Apple Arcade
gaming service called Apple Arcade, which lets you access more than 100 games. They're just
bored at this point.
Are new to Apple. I don't know why they're making this when you just have the App Store if you have an Apple device, or the Google Play Store if you have a Samsung device.
Ooh, what about that $50,000 car that we just passed? That's way more interesting.
Well, let's get on some let's get off technology and go to stuff about the government. Americans need to know what their government's doing. So, what has the government been? Oh, the Mueller report came out. That everybody's been saying that Bob Mueller was gonna arrest the president and all this stuff, and it was gonna be this big deal. But Bob Mueller came out and said that the president did not what's it called, collude with Russia, and they found that they couldn't gather enough evidence to try him on obstruction of justice. So in other words, the Mueller report came up with nothing. Nothing has changed since before it came out. So that was the big news from the government coming out this week.
I don't really know about. I don't keep up with politics. I can't. I don't really have anything to say about this, but it sounds like a big deal. So.
Well, they were just because they've been investigating his campaign for the past couple of years, saying that he cheated and colluded with Russia and all this stuff, but they came out and said he actually didn't do anything. They couldn't prove that he did anything wrong. I'm not saying that he did or didn't do anything wrong, but the FBI has come out and said that they could not find evidence of wrongdoing during President Trump's campaign. So that was the big government news for the week.
I guess that's good. What about that GOP congressman that quoted Mein Kampf to slam Trump? Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Apparently, this is a recent thing.
If you quote Mein Kampf, I think you're inherently a terrible person.
Representative Mo Brooks took to the House floor on Monday to portray President Trump's detractors as Nazi, but ended up slurring them using an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory drawn verbatim from Adolf Hitler's writings. In 2019, and the Führer's magnum opus, Mein Kampf, has become a playbook for a political combat in Congress at the very moment that Trump is calling the Democrats anti-Jewish. Brooks, a five-term Republican, accused the Democrats and members of the media of propagating a big lie about collusion. The expression was first coined by Hitler to describe how Jews used their unqualified capacity for falsehood to blame a top German military commander for the country's losses in World War I. A lie could be so big, Hitler claimed, that it perversively defied disbelief. So this guy, basically, he quoted Mein Kampf to try to make Trump look like a Nazi, and it backfired. So that's. I guess that's what you get.
Yeah. Advice: don't quote Mein Kampf. I wouldn't quote the most notorious dictator of all time.
He went on, quote, "In the big lie, there is always a certain force of credibility because the broad masses of a nation are always more easily corrupted in the deeper strata of their emotional nature than consciously or voluntarily," he said. With a flourish at the climax of his argument, Brooks declared that the words came from socialist Adolf Hitler in his book Mein Kampf. Indeed, they did. The vilification of Jews as treasonous was central not only to Hitler's worldview, but to the Nazi war machine. So yeah, they released a formal apology a few hours later, I guess, and I guarantee you he's never gonna live that down. Anyways, that's about it.
Yeah.
That's all the stories we've got for today.
In other words, don't quote Mein Kampf. Don't electrocute yourself in a power line. Don't board a flight naked.
Just before you do anything, this is just a life lesson for you all. Before you do anything, literally anything, think about what's going to happen.
Think about it first. Just take like 2 minutes and be like, hey, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, and then go through with it.
And then do it. Because, if you know it's not gonna be terrible.
A lot of times it sounds like a good idea in your head, and it does not work in the end goal.
Exactly. So that's our advice for the week. That's the news for the week.
I'm Connor Tyndall.
And that's the podcast for the week. I'm Jacob Murphy. He's Connor Tyndall.
We'll see you next week, I guess.
Yes, sir. Tune in.